Alan, the last time I saw you was at Glorious Goodwood, where you had an absolutely phenomenal week. Have you come back down to earth after it?
Gradually, but no, it was wonderful, and it gave the whole yard a real buzz, and a very special week.
Were you able to celebrate it with the team? You've got to celebrate the good times.
We did. We had a very good party the other night. So yeah,
good. Happy
enjoyed
day.
that.
Quite right, well done. We'll talk about a couple of those horses that won at Goodwood in a moment, but now the next big festival is at York. How much are you looking forward to that week?
Yeah, very much so. Hopefully we might have sort of half a dozen runners there. It's always a great meeting, and it's great to be getting racing back to some sort of normality, you know, with the crowds back. It's a lot more fun again.
Is York a meeting that you particularly enjoy? I know they put on a great show, and the crowd are pretty enthusiastic as well.
Yeah, it's always one of the great crowds, and they you know, it doesn't need me to say that how much they love the racing. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Let's talk through the team. I guess there are a couple of factors that might sort of change the path that you go with certain horses. Obvious starting point is Trueshan. Is he likely to run at York if the ground comes right for him?
Yeah, that would be the plan. I mean, we haven't done much with him since last week, obviously, but you know, we'll just start to building up next week, and he is ground dependent. But if there was a bit of rain around and we were happy with him, he'd take his chance. Yeah.
What ground? I know he is ground dependent. Do you just need to see the word soft in the going description? Would good to soft be?
Yeah, that would be fine. I mean, the one thing we don't want to see is good to firm in the description more than anything. Good ground, we'd nearly get away with it. Would he be as good in that? Probably not. But as long as it's safe, you know.
When he won at Goodwood, obviously it was a terrific display. Does part of you, as a competitive man, hope that the likes of Stradivarius were running that day, or do you want the easiest path to victory possible?
Well, when they started coming out, Stradivarius and Andrew's horse, and then we suddenly went odds on, I got really nervous about that then. But look, now you just have to take on whatever's there. I mean, I'm under the impression that Stradivarius is due to go there, so we'll see. But I won't worry too much about that.
It's becoming quite a good matchup, though. That I know that obviously they haven't met loads, but it's going to be quite a good narrative if they are both there on the day.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, get him in the best form and hope the ground's suitable for him.
What did you make of his win at Goodwood?
Well, it was terrific. I mean, he did quite a lot wrong the first part of the race. He was very free, and I suppose sort of switching inside, outside round Goodwood, it was just lighting him up a bit. Thank God we'd gone to Newcastle and got to run into him, because if he had gone there without that, he would have been very fresh. But yeah, I thought he did well to see it out as well as he did, considering how hard he'd pulled the early part of the race.
He's such a star, and I'm so pleased for you and the owners. You've got some pretty, I say eccentric owners, that's probably unfair, but they absolutely love it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, great characters. The four owners have owned them all the way through. It was just that they leased them to the Barbary Lions, who they were all members as well, for the first 2 seasons. So he's just come back into the original ownership, and we've kept the Barbary Lion colours on him. I didn't want to go back, and I just thought he'd been very lucky in the yellow and blue, so we've left those on him.
Why change a winning formula? You can't keep Andrew Gemmell out the big race winners in.
He's a very lucky owner, isn't he? Long may it continue. But
have you been trying to sell him a few more suits?
Well, he said he wants to speak to me fairly soon. But,
brilliant.
I better watch my neighbour, Miss Emma. She wouldn't be too keen, Emma Lavelle, if I suddenly sell him some more horses, you know.
That's true. I'm so pleased for you all with him. Best of luck. We hope to see him at York. If he doesn't go to York, will you still sort of obvious targets, Champions Day?
Well, you need to go somewhere. I mean, I would imagine he'd go to France first before Champions Day. In the Cadran, he'll have to go somewhere in between, but we'll cross that bridge if we didn't go to York.
And if I can, just on him, just get a line on Holly Doyle, because I spoke to her in the morning of the race, and she said, you know what, I actually am feeling it a bit today, and that's out of character for me. She felt the pressure, but my word, she delivered.
Yeah, and I mean, she won his maiden way back Wolverhampton as a 3-year-old, and you know, we don't always get her. She's not always available because of her various retainers, but she's always the first choice if we can get her. And it's just been wonderful. It's been wonderful to be part of Holly's career as well, because you know, we've been using her for many years, and each year she's got better and better. And I don't think there's anyone stronger in the weighing room. And the other beauty is that horses really run for her. You know, so it's a great talent she has.
It sure is. What about the other winner that you had at Goodwood, Asymmetric? He's in the Gimcrack, but I gather he's got a couple of options.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we go to York, he gets a £3 penalty for his win in the Richmond. We haven't totally ruled it out, but he is in the Morney the weekend after, so we'll chat to the owners and see. But he'll go one or the other.
Just tell us about the story with him. How did you get your hands on him?
Well, he was owned by the same guys. They had bought him as a yearling, and Martin Harley had ridden him in his breeze and thought he was very good. So they actually sent him through the ring, but bought him back in. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to get him. Yeah, and it's just been very progressive. He won at Goodwood first time out, followed up at Newmarket, and narrowly beaten in the July Stakes. But I think that he learned plenty that day. We thought he'd improved, and it looked that way at Goodwood last week.
I was really taken by that victory. The way he quickened up. What did Martin and you guys sort of chat about in the debrief? Because to the eye, it seemed very, very good.
Well, Martin's always felt he's got real gears, and I was slightly worried the first two furlongs that they'd gone very steady, and I just thought that the leaders might have got first run on him. But once the gap came, he quickened up very well. And he's not a horse that'll ever go away and win by very far. You know, he gets to the front, sort of pricks his ears and thinks he's done enough. So he's probably one of those that's only going to win sort of necks and half lengths, but that'll do.
Yeah, make it stressful viewing. But he seems like quite a relaxed character.
Wonderful. Totally laid back.
Yeah.
He really is. Nothing phases him. And when I saddled him last week, he was yawning and resting a hind leg. And the rest of us were a bit stressed, but he certainly wasn't.
Do you have long-term targets in mind for me? Are you working back from a specific race, or is it very...
Well, obviously, we're probably going to step him up to the Group 1, so the Morney's the obvious place, and then he'll have an entry in the Middle Park, and I just spoke to Martin last night. We thought we'd probably put him in the Dewhurst as well, because I could see him getting 7. He's very, very relaxed. He'll give himself a chance to get it, so having won the Group 2, I think the logical thing is to step him up to the Group 1s and see where we are.
We really are, when we look at your York team, covering all bases there, because we've got the young sprinters covered, we've got the sort of Group 1 stayers, and now we're going for the middle distance plus handicappers in the Sky Bet Ebor, which is just now, with the boosted prize money, a really competitive race. And you might have 3 in it, is that right?
Well, 3 entered, and that's the sort of plan. 1 or 2 might be borderline whether they get in, but on to victory, he's sort of guaranteed a run. He had a good break. We couldn't run him at Ascot because the ground was too firm, and we actually gave him a little holiday, and he came back and finished 5th at Goodwood on Saturday, and that should bring him on nicely. So I wouldn't run him on good to firm. He's a horse that had leg injury a few years ago, so we just have to be a little bit careful with that, but good ground would be absolutely fine.
It was soft ground, wasn't it, at Goodwood? When he ran?
Yeah, and he just got a little bit tired first run back on that last furlong. He looked as if he was coming to have a real challenge between the 2 and the 1, and it just flattened out slightly, which wasn't overly surprising, but I should think that's put him spot on.
But knowing that must give you a bit of confidence if the ground obviously is in his favour for the Ebor.
Yeah. I mean, I think a mile 6 is his absolute maximum on the flat. Yeah, he should hopefully run very well.
I know obviously you don't know the draw and stuff, but is there, with an Ebor, do you want to be anywhere in the race?
Don't ask me, I don't know.
You just turn up and
he's notoriously slow out, so you probably want to be reasonably high with him, because if you were drawing on the rail, you could see most of the field overtaking and coming out. So he might be better middle to high, and then slot in. And that's what he did in Doncaster when he won the November Handicap.
Yeah. Midnight's Legacy travelled well in the Old Newton Cup.
He did, yeah. He's been very progressive. I mean, you could argue maybe the handicap has nearly got him now at the 100, but you would expect him to run well. He has the option of dropping back and running in the 1.5 miles on the Friday if he didn't look like getting a run in the Ebor. But he's a grand horse, and he's actually going to go jumping later on. The owners are very keen to try and make a stallion out of him, a jump stallion, and he would be the only entire horse by Midnight Legend Racing.
Wow.
I think he was the last 4 that the old horse sired. So, and you know, we've nearly done enough on the flat, and then if he can win over hurdles, you might well see him going to stud, which would be very exciting. Yeah.
It's quite a good story.
It is. Well, that's what they've tried. I mean, the Holmeses who stood Midnight Legend, they sort of came up with this when this fellow was born, and the dream is still alive. It's still a possibility, anyway.
Are you feeling pressure with that? You've got to make him a winner.
Just the pressure. We don't geld him. That's the thing.
It's quite easy, actually. Just don't
get the wrong horse. Yeah.
And what about Scarlet Dragon, who obviously gave you a great day?
Yeah, I mean, he's an old character. He's very hard to predict, but he's on these days, there could be another big one in him, but you're never quite sure when it's going to be. Again, he's had a little holiday. We went back to Fiona Marner's stud just for a couple of weeks, and we're just building him up now, so we'll see, but anything's possible with him.
You might have a couple in there then for Henry Ponsonby. I actually saw him when you won with Trueshan. He had the biggest smile as you were coming back in the winning thing.
Well, he's a great supporter. I mean, I was supposed to get all these ex-flat horses to go jumping, but we seem to train them more flat winners than we do jump horses. But although having said that, Who Dares Wins, I mean, he's been a graded winner over fences and hurdles, so he's been a tremendous old horse. Yeah.
Are you enjoying it at the moment? You seem to be loving
well,
it.
Well, if I wasn't enjoying it now, you never would.
Game.
But yeah, no, the flat's almost given me a sort of new, bit sort of, I don't know, excitement about it. It's something slightly new, isn't it? Although we've been doing it for a long time and we've had over 300 winners on the flat, but it's just, it's quite fun at the moment.
I always get asked by people when I say I'm in racing, they go, oh, do you prefer the flat or the jumps? Do you have an
Not
answer
really.
for that question?
No, I mean, I enjoy them both. I think when you get to the end of the summer, you're quite keen to get back to the jumpers. And I mean, I've never liked summer jumping, and we had to do something. You know, I can't afford this place to be empty for 2 or 3 months in the summer from a financial point of view, and that's really how the flat all started. Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun. I mean, I'm not sure I'm too popular with the Newmarket trainers at the moment. So Mark's incredibly rude every time he sees me now.
That's true of everyone that he sees. He's a great man. And just finally, I suppose for racing fans watching this, you would know every major festival in this country, both National Hunt and Flat. What's the atmosphere like at a York compared to, say, a Cheltenham? Or would you recommend people watching this to come racing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, probably Cheltenham, I really found the pressure there. I don't unless you have a winner, I really enjoyed Cheltenham that much, especially as it's been quite a few years since we last had one. But they're all great. I mean, I think Liverpool's a little bit more relaxed than Cheltenham. We've always enjoyed our trips up there. And Goodwood's more relaxed than the Royal Meeting, although I really do love the Royal Meeting. And then York's different again. You get a slightly different crowd, and they're all very special. And yeah, people should go. There's nothing like the festivals, really.
Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck at
Pleasure.
York.
Thanks, Ollie.